Hi, this is Mark from SMPostcards, the best place to learn about postcard reselling. Today in this video, I got a few things to go over. One of them is I'm going to show you about 7 to 10 cards that sold so you get a good view of what people are buying. And then for the special topic, I got 5 tips that you can use to date your postcards. 5. Very simple way of doing that. And we'll get to that in a minute. Then I have another postcard terminology term, railway hotel. What is a railway hotel? And then instead of doing a short video or viewer comments, I went out in the last week and I picked up a few small hauls of postcards, and I got some real neat ones from Spain, and they're matadors and bullfighting embroidered postcards, and I'll go through some of those with you and I'll let you know what I paid for them. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing I wanted to bring up today is this reinforces to me all the time that people don't buy postcards just from the titles. They buy them from the picture. So on Etsy here, I sold this card about a week or so ago, and I noticed, I went to look for the card and I got the inventory number, but I noticed that the title was wrong. I really screwed the pooch on this one. Look at this title. All it's got is the letter C. So I must have copied, when I went to copy the title onto my spreadsheet, I hit Control C, but I put a C there. So there was no title to this postcard. All it had was a C and the picture of the 2 horse riders, and it sold. So I always thought, people bought them by view more than they bought them by title, and this helps reinforce my theory. So, but take a look at that. The letter C, 2 horseback riders, and it's sold. Who knew? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you a couple postcards that sold. And remember, when I show you the postcards that sold, it's not about what I sold or the dollars or how many. It's the variety that people are searching for, or that these cards triggered some searches and people bought the cards. That's why I go through these. And I have just a few today to show you, and then we'll get into the 5 tips on dating postcards. Have you ever come across a postcard that you looked at and it kind of stops you in the tracks and you got to go look and get some more history on it? Well, this is one of those cards. It's just a chrome card, but what this is the subway, the Senate subway car, which ran between the Capitol and the Senate office building from 1950 to 1961. And it's in the Museum of History and Technology, Smithsonian Institution. So that's a rail car that they used to ride between the Capitol and the Senate building. I guess it's underneath in the tunnels, underneath the Capitol and the Senate. So I had to go out and look at that and do a little research, and because it just caught my eye and it kind of stopped me in my tracks. What is this? I never knew there was one like this. I wonder what they have today. So this card sold for $4.45, and it's going to David in Queen Creek, Arizona. 2 more cards that sold on eBay, and then I'm going to get into the 5 tips on how to date postcards. The next card that sold is another one of the Disney cards that I put up just yesterday. This sold within 24 hours. This is the Epcot Center. There's Mickey in his little diving gear, and it's Epcot Center, and this came out of a souvenir book because there's the perforation that they tore it out of there. And this is an unposted chrome card. It's what I call vertical. It's up this way. This sold for $6.71, and it's going to Lisa in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but that was less than 24 hours. I put up a lot of the Disney and the Native Americans, and I was kind of surprised at how fast some of these sell, but then I'm not. I know Disney are always movers. That sold is a best love, like a greeting card. It is a divided back card, and it was, I think it's postmarked 1907, and it's got a 1-cent stamp on it. Now that's going to be important right after this card. I'm going to get into it, why I always say what the postage was on this stamp. So that's going to be a key in our next little exercise, special topic on dating postcards. But that's a undivided back. It means only the address can be on the back here. And down here, they could have put a message, but they didn't. But greeting cards, I tend to shy away from some of the greeting cards. They don't sell as well as fast, or more longer tail. This one I probably listed a couple years ago, just looking at the inventory number, so it sat for a while. But it's a nice card. It's got the little girl with a hat, but all it says is best love. So they don't do as well. So when I see the big lots and they say greeting and holiday cards, I tend to shy away from those. Just not that they won't sell, they just don't sell as fast. And I don't want to have a lot of long tail stuff. I want stuff that moves. So, but if they are in there, I will list them if they're nice. I like the nice embossed ones better than these types of cards. This sold for $4.45, and it's going to Judith in Devilish Bluff, Arkansas. Now I'm going to get into the special topic: 5 tips on dating your postcards. Now this might not get you down to the exact date to when the postcard was manufactured, but it's going to get you in the ballpark. A lot of times you'll see a lot of sellers on eBay or Etsy put up there with a C circa 1920, circa 1930, because they did minimal research, or it's as far as you can get. And as I go through here, this is how I look at postcards, and I got some little charts here that you might want to use YouTube and go back and forth and write some of this down, or you can do a screen capture or whatever. But these are the things that I use for real quick looking at a postcard if I really don't know what it is, or I want to dig a little deeper. I don't do it that often, but in my special folder I will do that just to try to get there. And if it is a special date, especially wartime or something like that, I'll try to put circa 1941, 1945, or 1970, stuff like that. Sometimes that'll trigger someone to take a closer look at your card. So what are the 5 tips? So the first tip on dating postcards, and I got 2 examples here. I got 2 cards that we're going to walk through and date these cards as close as possible. The first one is a white border card of the Robert E. Lee statue in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And the next one is Humboldt Park, the Sunken Garden in Chicago. And that's a divided back card. So as I go through here, then we're going to do these 2 examples. I'm going to walk through how I dated these cards and come up with the date that I think they are. So the first tip: postmark. A lot of people think that they can date a postcard by the postmark. It is not the most accurate, as cards can sit in drawers or racks for years before being mailed. What I can tell you, it was manufactured before that postmark. So postmark will get you started, and that's one of the things, is you want as many things as you can identify on a postcard. You know, that's one of them, is the postmark. If it's postmark, then you got one item, as you'll see in our examples. But it is not the most accurate because they can sit around for a long time. You also want to look, when they do the postmark, is you want to look at the cancels on there. Cancellations have a history. There's TPO, which is trolley postmark, RPO, railroad, DPO, which are defunct post offices, RFD, post office cancels, and then they can also cancel in the car. So sometimes the cancels in there. Now cancels have a whole history and a way to do it by themselves. Stamp collectors probably know a lot more about cancels than I ever will even know about. But the cancels can help sometimes too. So with the postmark and the killer cancel is when they put it across the stamp so it can't be used. A lot of times years ago, it was done by hand. And you can go out there and research about the cancels where they used different stamps and they changed the stamps and stuff like that. So postmark, not the most accurate, but it can help. That was tip number 1. Tip number 2, the era of cards. So eBay, right in there, when you list a postcard on eBay, you can go down and it's going to tell you the era. You know, government postcards, postal card, pioneer, private mailing card. A lot of those I don't deal with that much. Undivided back, 1901 to 1907, divided back, 1907 to 1915, White border, 1915 to 1930. Linen, 1930 to 45, and chrome is 1939 to present. That's right in eBay, and you can take it off this screen here, and I do have this printed out on a card. Oops. I have a little card sitting by my desk with a rubber band. I hang it on a little nail, but it has all that just printed out right there, so I can take a quick look if I can't remember. I'm not that great with dates. And I also have some other stuff that I use for dating, just for a quick reference if I'm looking up something, and I go to that a lot. But those are the eras. So if you can get a card, white border, 1915 to 1930, divided back, 1907 to 1915. That's key number 2. So this one we got the postmark, and we got the divided back. So that's key tip number 2. Look for the era. And I'm going to walk you through how to keep track of this in a second. The next one is postcard size. The standard size postcard is 3.5 by 5.5. Most cards are of this size. The continental size, from typically 1940 to present, and it's the most prevalent now, because what it did with continental cards, why they went to 4 by 6, is people wanted more room to write. Is one of the what people are saying. They wanted more room to write. So your bigger cards, your continentals, are going to be from 1940 forward, and your other cards can be anytime. Now if your card is older than it's an older card and it's larger than 3.5 by 5.5, it could be pre-1898 if it's a really old card. If it's an older card and smaller than 3.5 by 5.5, it could be between 1898 and 1902. So if you have a real old card, you want to use size. If you're down to the point where you just don't have enough key items, indicators, size could be a factor. I don't use it that often, but sometimes I've had to go and check the size. If an older card and it's 3.5 by 5.5, it's probably between 1902 and 1970. If a card is equal to 4 by 6, it's probably not manufactured before 1960. But it could be from 1940 forward, but most of the time it's going to be 1960 forward. So that's another key, is look at the size. Not used a lot, but it can help. The next one, I'm not a car guy like I said in the videos. I'm not good with hats or clothes or buildings and stuff like that, but I do look what's in the picture. If you're stumped and you just don't have a lot of information for that card, look at the signs. Google the name of a building. If you know the state, stuff on there. You know, what's in the picture. Cars, buses, trains. One of the good ones to look at is flags. If there's an American flag on a building, flags have different number of stars. And as I show you right here in this little chart, if you're looking at an older card and it has American flag and it has 45 stars, that was between 1896 to 1908. Now I didn't go back before 45 stars because most of the postcards I deal with go from, you know, divided back forward. So this little chart here that I have, so 45 stars, that's when Utah was added. 46 stars is 1908 to 1912, that's when Oklahoma was added. 48 to 1912 to 1959, that's when New Mexico and Arizona was added. And 49 stars is from 1959 to 1960, that's when Alaska was added. And then 50 stars is 1960 to present, that's when Hawaii was added. So that can also help you get in the right era. If you don't have anything else that you can figure out about this card, you can look at, and it's got a flag on the building. Now, you got to be careful with it, because some of the historical cards, like from a museum or something, might show the Betsy Ross house, and it has a different flag on there. That might be flown on a chrome card for historical purposes. So that's not an original flag, but you know, some of the buildings I've seen have different stars. And I've used this chart a few times to date like a flag on a ship or something. But I started at the 45 is where I usually start, because that's normally when the postcard era started. The next fun one, tip number 5. This is probably one of the best indicators that I use all the time, and if you've seen me do that in the videos, I'll say 1 cent stamp, 2 cent stamp. It's the postage rate, the history of the postage rates. It is detailed. This chart here is a good reference that I'm showing right here. So one of the key things is the postage rate started in May 1st, 1873. That's 1 cent. But then the next update was 1917. That's right about the time, the golden era of postcards. So that's 2 cents. Then it went back to 1 cent. Then it went to 2 cents, 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that, if you have a stamp on here, like this is a 1 cent stamp, on this card I'm going to show you here in a second, you got 3 places that you can date, start to get a key indicator for the date of that card. So postage rate history is another good chart to look at. So let me bring it all together. That was the 5 tips. How do we use these? It sounds complicated. It really is not. Anybody can do this. You don't need to be an expert in postcards to walk through what I'm walking through. I'm not an expert, but I've come up with the things that I need to do just from experience on working and selling postcards. So the first example we're going to go through is this Robert E. Lee statue white border card. So that's what it looks like. It's not posted, so I don't have a lot of indicators. What date was this card made? How can I find out and come close to what date? Now, like I said, you're not going to get exactly to the date it's manufactured. If you do a lot of research, you might be able to get more indicators and get there, because there's a publisher on here. You can go to their website. There's other things you can probably do, but I don't go that far on most of the cards. But let's go through example 1 with a white border Robert E. Lee statue at Gettysburg. So the first thing is, this has a stamp box. Now these stamp boxes are important. Stamp collectors know about stamps and stuff. Postcard collectors know about the stamp boxes, and there is a whole deal about stamp boxes, and I'm going to do a video about the different type of stamp boxes, but that's for a different video. You can get really down the rabbit hole on that. But this one says on here, place stamp here, domestic 1 cent. So I know that's a 1 cent stamp box. So that gives me, in this picture here, 1873, 1919, and 1928. Those are my 3 places. So how do I get it down from 3 to 1? So the next thing is the era. I know this is a white border card. So now I know it's a white border card. So that's from 1915 to 1930. I know that. This is a white border card. So where would this fall on the charts here? If you look across here, we got 3 things that we can key the date in close to this. The 1 cent stamp box, since it's a white border card, the era is 1915 to 1930, and then it's a 1 cent stamp box, shows you that it's not 1873 and it's not 1928. I would say it's 1919. And the reason I said 1919 and not 1928, I went out and I googled, when was this statue erected? The statue was erected in 1917. So what's on the card helped me. So I figured that they built the statue, they went out and took a photo and got the postcards out there, not 20 years later, but they did it 2 years afterwards. So I picked 1919. So that's probably the best one. So this card, I would say, is a white border card 1919 because of the stamp box 1919. So white border card circa 1919. So let me go back real quick here and show that again. So the first thing is, I checked the stamp box, it's 1 cent. Gave me 3 places on the postal history. Now I need to tie that down. It's a white border card, I know that for sure. White border, 1915 to 1930. Now I had two spots. I could pick 1919 for the 1 cent stamp, or I can pick 1928. I had to find out because both of those fall in the white border era. I went out and used what's on the card. Statue was erected 1917. So that gave me a good educated guess to say this was circa 1919. That's how I came up with that. And so this card's a white border, circa 1919. And you're saying, oh my God, this is going to be tough. Do it a few times. You can get 2 or 3 things on a postcard. You can pretty well get it in the right years almost. A lot of times. Some cards you just don't have enough information. So this is example 2. This is Humboldt Park, Sunken Garden, Chicago. It's just an undivided, it's a divided back card. It has a 1 cent stamp, and it has a postmark of 1912. Now, just because it has that postmark doesn't mean this is 1912. This thing could have been made in 1901 and sat in a book or a drawer, and someone just decided to mail it 12 years later. But it gives me a good idea. I know it was before, from 1912 and before, for sure. So let's walk through the same process. Okay, so I got a 1 cent stamp, so that gives me, again, 3 different times. 1873, 1919, and 1928 to pick from. But I need to tie it down a little bit more. It's an undivided back, or it's a divided back card. So that's going to fall into the era of 1907 and 1915. So what postage rate do I pick? I pick the first one, 1873, because the second one was 1919, but the postmark was 1912, so it can't be 1919. It's got to be up in the 1873 era, from 1873 to 1917 time frame when this postcard was manufactured. So what is my deduction? This divided back card, circa 1907 to 1912. So I'm going to walk through that one more time. So this is a divided back, 1 cent stamp box, postmark 1912. Looking at the postage rate, it's 1 cent. Gives me 1873, 1919, 1928. I know it's not the 1928, and I know it's not 1919. It's got to be from 1873 to 1917 on the postage rate because of the postmark 1912. Next, I know it's a divided back. That reinforces 1907 and 1915, golden age of postcards. Divided back, so it falls right in there. 1912 postmark falls right in between there. I probably could get it a little bit more closer to the date. There is a manufacturer. There is a little emblem on the card that I could probably go to a manufacturer website or some historical site and dig a little deeper and get it in there. But for my purpose, circa 1907 and 1912 is sufficient to sell this card on eBay or Etsy or HipPostcards. So divided back, white border, divided back. I was able to date those cards within the era, within the year, circa 1907 to 1912 for the second one. So that's how you can quickly go through and date postcards. Now, there's other sites out there, Facebook groups. I'm actually a member to a lot of them, that I could put a card out there and say, hey, I need some help on dating this card. A lot of times they want to do the RPPCs and stuff, but there's some people are just amazing. They'll go out there and in an hour they'll tell you exactly where this postcard came from. They do all that history stuff, but you don't want to abuse it. You don't want to send every card every time. If you just get one card and it's really neat and you know it's higher price and you can get a few more dollars for it, pop it out there, become a member, and also comment on other cards. Become an active member to that group. Just don't use them all the time. I do them in toys. I've got a toy or something I found on a flea market. I'm not for sure what it is. I send it to one of the what is this groups. But also when someone puts something out there that I know, I'll reply and say this is what that is. Like Goldar Sora from Power Rangers. I knew that one time. I just took a picture, sent it out to them. Here's what it is. This is the year. So you want to go back and forth. But that's the 5 tips on dating postcards. Any questions? Let me know. And if there's more stuff that you can show me about dating postcards that I didn't show here, put it in the comments. We all can use it. A lot of people have been doing this for years, and they understand a lot more than I do, and maybe some of the viewers. So anything to help us get these postcards dated, please leave it in the comments below. Also, this is YouTube, so you can back this up and grab the screens and write down what you got, or go out and find stuff on doing that. But that's a quick and easy way. I hope this helped you. Go through the next 3 cards that we sold on eBay just to walk through, and then I'm going to go through the term railway hotel. What the heck is that? So the next card that sold was a covered bridge. I have a lot of covered bridges. I got into a lot of them, but I did list them, and they do sell. They're like lighthouses. People use them for crafts, or they just collect lighthouses or covered bridges. This one's got a whole bunch of writing on the back, but that doesn't really hurt the view of the card on the front. It didn't bleed through. This is the Butler County, Ohio #2 covered bridge. It's a chrome card. So these are really nice bridges to be under when it's raining. And this sold for $4.45. It's going to Brian in Hamilton, Ohio. So he might live by this bridge. Item is sold. Again, I showed one of these in I think a couple videos ago. But this is not a big postcard. This is a magazine ad. We actually cut magazine ads out of like Life magazines, and we put them on backer boards, and we sold this. This is a Dole pineapple juice. See if I can get a picture of that in there. It's got a mosaic of different things in there. It's got people doing different things. So this was a nice colorful ad, probably from the 1950s, but it's on a backer board. It does have a inventory tag on it, which I do take off when I ship these on there. And how we ship these is it's like the best envelope that I did, but it's a bigger one. It's like 12 by 6 or something. We put a piece of cardboard inside, because this is a package. This is going to go like a package. And I put this in with the face of the ad toward the cardboard, and it just seals. Just like that. It seals just like that. I'll print this out with a first class label, and it'll go to have the post lady pick it up this morning. So that's how we do that. We have about 500 or 600 of those ads in our store, and we keep about 50 or 60 of these things already prepped with cardboard in it, so it's not a big deal when they sell. This sold for $6.75, and I shipped it for $3.75, so a total of $11.50 for something I got less than $1 in, even with the envelope. And it's going to Lisa with Springdale, Arkansas. Now I'm going to get into the term. To learn about postcards, one of the biggest and easiest thing you can do is understand the terminology. Talk to talk. What are these people are saying? There is a lot of crossover in terms. The more you understand the crossover. Novelty postcards. They have installment card, puzzle cards. It's a broad thing on there. So if you understand the terminology, it'll help. So the term I picked today was railway hotel. What is that? And I'll put it down here so you can read along with it. A railway hotel owned by a railroad company located near one of their train stations. As railroads grew larger, they began purchasing and building large hotels in order to offer more complete travel packages that would encourage tourism over their rail line. Railway hotels also became a major distribution points for postcards, which turned railroads into large publishers of cards that publicized the destinations they offered. So as you're looking for postcards, I don't have an example of one, but as you're looking for postcards and it says railway hotel or a station back in the days when the railroads were really taking off, you want to look for these types of cards and make sure you get in the heading, this was a railway hotel. Maybe that would be the key that someone might click on your card. Some people don't know about railway hotels. But I picked this term because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it on the railway hotel, so I can start adding that into my titles. Instead of saying just train station, I can say a railway hotel, Santa Fe, New Mexico. That sounds a lot cooler than just saying train station, New Mexico. People might click on that. You got to get the edge. There's 9 million cards out there. What makes your card different? So that's railway hotel. Now I do have 3 cards to show you that sold on Etsy. Etsy's a little slower than eBay, but I have about 3,800 cards on there. I put about 10 a day up. Some days I make a gain, some days I sell, some days I don't sell any. But Etsy's been really doing good for the last month and this month so far. But it kind of goes up and down, but it is on a constant little bit of a slight. eBay goes like this, more on growth. Etsy's a little bit lower. Hip is kind of flat right now. But Etsy is a Native American card. Now I didn't list this one lately. This was probably listed a while ago. But this is of the Seminole Indian digging out a log to make a canoe in Florida. When I see Seminole Indians, it's usually Florida is where the villages and the cards are for tourism are made on there. Now when you list these Native American, this will pop up a little warning on eBay in your listing. You can list these cards. These are tourist cards. They did these to sell to tourists and stuff like that of the enemies of the tribe. Now if it is any kind of beaded jewelry, tribal made, and you say it's from the Apache tribe, you got to have authenticity for that stuff. But with postcards, these were, mass produced, and so I just click continue and I list these cards. This card actually sold for $445, and it is going to Clewiston, Florida, to Marie. Thanks, Marie. Another card that sold on Etsy is of Salem Willows, Massachusetts, Jupiter Point, Salem Neck. It's an undivided pack card. It was posted 1912. Just a full card, divided back. Like I said before, it's got a 1-cent stamp on there. So you could date this card with the postmark and divide it back. You got 3 items, and you could possibly go out and probably get a little bit bigger if you wanted, but it would put you in the area of 1 cent. Postmark, 1912. Divided back, so it's probably 1907 to 1915, I think it was. But that's a divided back. So this is going to Tracy. She paid $445, and going to Austin, Texas. Thanks, Tracy. On Etsy, I sold this card. It's Greetings from Snow Valley, California, San Bernardino Mountains. So what I thought was neat about this card, it's the lodge, and it's in snow, and it's got all the older cars in there. Down in the bottom, you can see the carves. See if you see that. Just a chrome card. Someone went to Snow Valley. This is probably 1960s, 70s card. And this is going to Patricia. She paid $445. And it's going to Simi Valley, California. So maybe that's by Snow Valley. But nice little chrome card for memories. Everything. We went to the dating and stuff like that. Now I want to show you, instead of a video or viewer comments, I went out and I've been going to some antique malls just to get out. And I went to an antique dealer, and I found some cards, and I wanted to show you some of them and then what I paid for them. So the first ones I found were really cool. I've never seen some of these cards before. So these are embroidered cards, and I do have a video that I put up about what embroidered cards are. You might want to go check that out. But these were made in Madrid, Spain. These are matadors. All of his uniform is embroidered. So that's one of them right there. Very detailed. This is another one on there. Look at the bright colors. And these are really thick cards. The embroidery's got 2 plies to it on there. So that's a really nice card. Now this one is a nice bullfighter too. If you notice, they're actually speared the bull back there. And there's some blood on there and some guy in really tight pants. But these are all embroidered with like a silk thing on there. This is another one of the bullfighting ones. They're actually fighting the bull. It's an embroidered card. That's another one. Really detailed color. The colors are just absolutely amazing. This one doesn't have as much embroidered, just in the top, but it's a picture of a bull. And like I said, this one is from Spain. This guy is actually doing the kill shot on the bull right there, embroidered, the matador. His uniform is all embroidered. Really nice cards. This is another bullfighter one. That's another bullfighter one. And then the last one. So I got a total of 10 bullfighting Spanish cards from that haul. And then I got some Chicago cards. They're just divided back cards. Here's another divided 1915. Just some, undivided backs. Stuff like this. This is a 1909 picture card. Here's a building of a Boston thing. I did get some really nice hand-painted cards. This one is Kiss Me Kid and Know You're Living. That was a nice hand-painted card. This one was kind of funny. It says Drunk Again, and they're actually drinking by a fountain, so it says Drunk Again. And this was posted in 1911, undivided back card. Some other, some French cards in here of some girls. This is now this one had, they had markers on there, but this guy had these cards for a long time. But that's a merchandise marking, or the retail store, Marshall Field, Chicago. So that's there. Now all this haul here is about 55 cards. I paid less than $2 for every card, even these. Now I did a quick review. I haven't done a lot of research on these cards yet, but these probably will run between $15 and $50. It just depends on what's out there. The last time I looked, there was only 27 Spain Matador bullfighting cards on eBay. So if I put 10 up there, then I have a bigger pie to market. But I want to make sure that these are the right cards and what they're worth. So these are, I would say, $25, $30 cards. Now they are going to be long tail. They probably won't sell, but I will sell them internationally. I'll make sure that they're on the international market as well. But this whole thing here, $100. A little under $2 a card. The next little haul I got was just Chrome cards. This was the Blue Room, White House. Just a view card, some park. Some historical building. Flamingos. Some lodge. Another lodge. This is of a furnace, inland steel furnace. Disney. There was a lot of Disney in this one too. I think that's probably why I bought it. Now this is a motel, but it's got a sign. That's what triggered me on that. This card here, railroad card. This is 1909. This is probably a $10 card. Maybe a little bit more. And this card was kind of interesting. This is called the Confederate Inn. Now there is no Confederate. Now I cannot sell this card because it's got the Confederate flag on there. So I have a buddy that will buy these types of cards, but that's a Confederate Inn on there. But this whole lot here, I would 120 cards, $12. I hand-picked these from a whole bunch of boxes in an antique mall. And I think I paid $12, $15 for these cards here. Just 3 of these cards, maybe 2, will pay for all of these cards. So I just wanted to show you that there's money out there. Now, those 55 cards, if I sold 55 cards at $5 a piece, that's $275. But I know those cards are going to be more, and they're going to probably be in the, I'm going to get at least $8 to $12, so let's say $9. 9 times 55, that's $495 that I'm going to get. $495 that I'm going to get from this 55 cards that I paid $100 for. So that's basically 5 times of my money is what I'm doing. But they're going to sit for a while. My $100 went out, but I'm not going to sell them as fast. So $9 times 55, $495 in postcards, and that's all the space it takes up. And those embroidered cards will go through the scanner. I have to do them one at a time, but they will go through with a little help, and it won't hurt the card or the scanner. That's all we got for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out our other videos on best envelopes. I did one on the scanner versus camera, what the best I have. I got some other scanning ones. Just another video is going to pop up over here for you. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon, and we appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.